I just assumed it was Bragg saying something dumb. What's going on, Bulls Nation? Welcome into CHGO Bulls podcast, coming to you live from our studios here in West Loop, downtown Chicago. I'm Peck, Bulls _ Peck, Big Dave, Bow, BAWL Sports, Will the Go Gottlieb, the Quaff, Will _ Gottlieb, and Troll Joe, our pal and producer on the controls at Joey Spathis. Gentlemen, how's everybody feeling today?
Feel good. You?
Never better.
Right on.
Never better. I always like when the goat wears that green and black flannel.
I like how
there's something comforting about seeing you in that flannel.
Right there.
Oh my God! I just noticed the matching socks.
You got to pay attention.
And the black jeans.
Pay attention. The goat don't
Dude,
sleep,
the quaff
man.
is.
You know what I mean? But
elite today.
What you ain't peeping is the collar is matching also the socks, and that is next level right there. That's a slight match. It's not the same color, but it matches.
I always love the comment on Will's appearance section of the show.
Yeah, man. That's smooth stuff, Will. Smooth stuff.
Oh, what's going on, Bulls fans? Everybody hyped up? Everybody hyped up for play-in round 2?
I'm ready for it. I'm always here for postseason basketball, man.
Woo. Shout out. Oh, I see our friend Charlie the Bacon Guy hanging out in the comments. Hey. What's up, Fish? What's up, Daniel? What's up, Nicholas and Larry? Larry saying, I'm just here for the thumbs, cores, and continuity.
Hey, I like
plenty of them.
That's a good shirt.
Plenty of all of them things.
Thumbs, cores, and continuity is a good-ass shirt.
All right, guys. So we know the drill. Bulls, Heat, tomorrow night in Miami. Playoff berth to the real playoffs on the line. Winner faces Boston, the #1 seed in the East. Want to talk about some, X's and O's of this matchup that we will see tomorrow night. But let's first start with some big injury updates from both teams because both teams had players leave their respective play-in games last night due to injury. Let's start with the good news for the Bulls, who saw Alex Caruso leave last night's game, try to come back, and then Billy said, you know what, Caruso, I think we can win this without you. Have a seat. This was from Woj earlier today. Per ESPN sources, after further evaluation today, reduced swelling around Bulls guard Alex Caruso's left ankle has increased optimism on his chances to play versus the Heat on Friday in the play-in tournament. His availability will likely become a game-time decision. And the other interesting wrinkle, Will, that we learned after the fact is we saw the collision between him and Drummond. And we all thought, oh, dear God, did Drummond just friendly fire hurt his teammate, who's, always an injury risk as it is. But then the Bulls confirmed after the game, and correct me if I'm wrong, that he re-aggravated the left ankle sprain that has been bugging him for a while, whereas Drummond stepped on his right foot in that collision.
Yeah, he said, I'm just going to read the quote here because it's a little confusing, but he said, he caught me on my right foot that kind of gave out, so my left foot tried to catch me. And I just kind of tweaked my ankle a little bit. The same one that I'd been dealing with for the last couple weeks of the season that we're managing. So
we're still blaming Drummond.
I guess. I mean, look, the significant thing that Woj had tweeted, I think, was a little bit overstated. At least that's what it sounded like coming out of the Bulls staff last night. And Caruso said, just as far as whether or not he expects to play, this is another quote, I mean, I do until I can't. So we'll see how it goes in the next couple of days. But my mindset will be I'll play till my body tells me that I can't. So I'm expecting him to give it a try. Even Drummond, clearly not 100% last night, went out there, put his body on the line because it was the season on the line. Yeah. And I expect Caruso to do the same. We'll see whether he can actually finish the game or play 30, 40 minutes the way that he has been the last handful of weeks here. But I do expect him to give it a go just because of the competitor that he is.
Yeah, whatever he can give is going to be helpful. I don't care if it's 5 minutes or 15 or whatever. You're going to need all hands on deck for that, man.
That's why he's here. Didn't trade him.
For the playoff run. Yes, this is why he's here.
This is why he's here.
You are hilarious.
The curious thing, if maybe there is a setback and he's not available. We could talk about it in a minute, but like then how does Billy adjust the starting lineup and then the rotation? Because speaking of playing through injuries, because it's winter go home time, they already had 2 players in Io and Drummond who were playing through injuries that they probably would have sat out for were it just a run-of-the-mill regular season game. And the Bulls' latest injury report that they released earlier today has Io and Drummond both listed as questionable. Io with the quad, Drummond with his ankle. You have to assume that unless any unexpected setbacks happen, if they were both able to go last night, they're both going to get the green light tomorrow, right, Will?
I would imagine so. I think, like I said, Drummond, I think in particular, was playing through it. Io, I don't think was 1,000%, but pretty close, just the way that he was attacking the basket, getting downhill. He said that he wasn't able to have his full burst, but it looked pretty darn close. But Drummond, I mean, he had a couple of moments in there. He had a couple of offensive rebounds, but he's just not 100%, and he acknowledged it. So I do expect both of those guys to play. I expect Caruso to be out there too. And this is when you got to gut it out. This is why, there's all those cliches about coming out and playing when the lights are on, when it matters the most, when your season's on the line, all that stuff. This is that time.
Yeah.
And I think they know and recognize that. And they also know they have an opportunity here to get into the playoffs. And I think, for everything that they've kind of gone through this year in terms of injuries, for everything that they've put all of us through in terms of inconsistent level of play, in terms of, just should they even still be together as a group? How do they justify that? They feel like they have an opportunity here to salvage a lot of that and to prove a point that they are better than what their 39 win record tells us that they are.
Yeah.
Dan in the comments saying AC needs that senzu beans to recover quickly.
What now?
Does anyone know what senzu beans are?
Wait, that sounds familiar.
Senzu. I'm not familiar.
SENZU? Is some
it
sort of magical beans?
Oh, it's a Dragon Ball Z thing.
Oh, okay. Right. I was never a big Dragon Ball Z guy.
I knew that for some reason.
Joey, how you ain't know?
Lars knew. Dragon Ball. Drewish. Dragon Ball Z.
No, not.
Were you a Dragon Ball Z guy?
I watched some of it. My nephew was huge into it, so I know a little bit about it, but not to know that.
I could just never get into any anime stuff.
Oh, anime is dope.
I've just never liked that style of animation.
Ghost in the Shell is really incredible. There's some that are just really on some really incredible levels, when you watch it. So, One Punch Man. I don't know if you might know that one.
The OG dope. Last Airbender I enjoyed.
Yes.
That was cool.
That's another one. Yes, that's really, really good one, man. So there's some really good ones out there, for sure.
So speaking of the Bulls and this huge opportunity they have in front of them, Will, the news gets better, injury report-wise, because Jimmy Buckets, who went down hard getting fouled under the basket in the Heat's play-in loss to the Sixers last night, has officially been ruled out with a right MCL sprain. There it is from the Heat's official Twitter account. Also confirming that Terry Rozier, who missed last night's game with his neck injury, also ruled out for Bulls Heat tomorrow night. Meanwhile, in the Heat's injury report today, Kevin Love and Tyler Herro, who were both active last night. Kevin Love's been playing through an ankle, Herro foot tendonitis that kept him out for 20 games. Both available. Duncan Robinson gets the probable tag as he's been dealing with left facet syndrome, which apparently is a sort of spinal arthritis.
Wow.
Learn something new every day.
Oh, man.
So Jimmy Butler, and it was weird because Shams had that report last night. The Heat fear that it's an MCL for Jimmy Butler, which could mean significant absence. And then there were people pushing back on that report and saying, "Hey, no, nothing's decided. We don't know that yet."
His agent, yeah.
Right? Oh, yeah, that's who it was. It was Jimmy's agent. But unless this is all a ruse, the Heat's official team account reported that Jimmy's out. So I feel like they would be in for a hefty punishment if that is a lie. So we're talking about a Jimmy bucketless Heat team that the Bulls will face tomorrow. Huge break for the Bulls.
Yeah, it's an opportunity. And, you never want to see someone get hurt, especially, DeRozan and Caruso in particular were kind of glowing about the level of competitor that Jimmy is and the way that he plays and what he kind of means to the league. The way that they put together that run last year. It's not going to be the same playing against a team without him.
Yeah.
But, the thing about Miami is they don't go away. The Hawks went away.
No.
They packed it in. I don't even know if they wanted to show up for that game the way that they played. The Heat are not going to do that. They're going to compete. They're going to defend. I think it's going to change who we are. We can get more into the
It
details.
says so in the paint on their court.
Hardest
That's who they are.
Well, yeah, that was something. But we'll see if they put that on the court tomorrow night.
Heat culture.
I don't know. But it's just going to be interesting to see how that kind of changes what the Heat have to do because, he is such a big part of their identity on both sides of the ball. Now you have to make some adjustments. You're going to have different rotations in. You're going to have other guys having to play bigger minutes, and that's going to change fundamentally what style of basketball you are able to play. And I think it's going to be interesting for the Bulls to try to prepare for that and then also adjust and counter to some of those things throughout the course of the game.
What style do you think will be implemented by the Heat now?
Say that again?
What style do you think will be
What
implemented?
style? I mean, I think defensively, you know what you're going to get from Miami. They're going to bring in the zone. They're going to play a lot of man. They're going to try to throw you off. They execute their rotations really well. They were 5th in defense this year. And, even though they don't have a lot of – obviously Jimmy is a stopper. They don't have a lot of those guys, though, on the perimeter. It's it's Herro, it's Duncan Robinson, it's Jaquez, who's been okay. Caleb Martins, who's been okay. They don't have a ton of guys that are, really elite one-on-one defenders, but they defend team concepts really well. They rotate really well. They get into their zone and, double and then spray back out. So I think they're going to be still really formidable defensively, but offensively, you're kind of taking away a guy who can get you a bucket one-on-one, and that's a really important thing to do. Obviously, just in the playoffs, but with these two teams in particular, who are really half-court, grinded-out kind of rock fight teams, that I think is a huge blow. So you're going to now have to rely a lot on Tyler Herro, but also a lot of these dribble handoffs, shooting off of split actions and things like that. They're going to have to get a little bit more creative, playing through Bam in the high post and at the top of the key, coming off of screens. I think that's going to be really hard for the Bulls to defend. So I don't necessarily think this is a good thing for Miami. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Jimmy's, and I think he is really good and just plays mistake-free basketball and can score at will in these moments. We saw him put up 50 last year in the playoffs against the Bucks multiple times.
He did.
So obviously they're going to miss him, but I do think that this opens up the door for them to shoot a lot more threes, to add more variance to their game. And as we talked about, it only takes one night where you make 22, 23 threes, and your season continues, and the Bulls doesn't.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really difficult, I think, for the Bulls to stay connected, to stay engaged, and to be aware when they're off ball. You have a lot of guys in this Bulls team that can defend one-on-one, but really Caruso is the one guy who off the ball is an elite defensive player.
Correct.
Other guys have moments, but they also fall asleep at times. And so they're going to have to be really engaged, really aware, and connected to prevent the Heat from getting too hot from three.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Bam Adebayo. Every time he plays the Bulls, he has a really solid game. He's hard for Vooch to defend because not only does he have the inside game and the offensive rebounding, but he can step out free throw line extended and hit that jump shot right in your face. And Vooch is not coming out there. We already know that. That's outside that dotted circle. That's not his MO as far as defense is concerned. So Bam can provide that pressure defensively. We know he can do that. But then offensively, how he runs the floor like a forward. But he also can finish inside just very smooth. They have
Super
a real
good
chance.
Clint
of making
Capella
him
was
like that.
knocking down his baby hook over
Exactly.
Vooch all night last night.
Exactly, man. And we know that Bam can do that all night long, as far as getting inside and scoring. Doesn't matter his size. He just knows how to work it inside. So he's going to be a problem. He's going to be a serious problem. The three-point shooting will be a problem, of course, if it's going down. But Tyler Herro, Duncan Robinson usually shoots well against the Bulls. He'll be a factor. Jaquez will definitely be a factor because he can get inside also and score. And scoring a little bit in the mid-range as well. So he's got that too. But like I said, everything for me comes down to Eric Spoelstra, man. He's just that damn good, as a coach. And I don't care who you have out there on the floor, whatever five he's got out there, they are a problem, and they're going to take away what you do best. They have always done that. It's been their MO for years to take away what you do best, and then you find a way to stop us.
And that's exactly what I mean is because of the way that they're coached, because of the creativity and the level of execution, they're going to have a lot of system baskets tomorrow. I think they're going to get a lot of points through those dribble handoffs from Duncan Robinson to Bam Adebayo, and then those get actions where you enter the ball into the center and then come off a screen and elevate. Those shots are going to be available to them, and I think on any given night they can get really hot doing that, and I think that's going to put the Bulls in a difficult situation because Now you're trying to stay attached. You're trying not to foul guys on jump shots. You're chasing. You're not guarding with the offense in front of you.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the Bulls can get in trouble a little bit.
Jelly in the comments saying, never count out Coach Spo. Think this is far from a wrap. Dan saying, careful, Spo and Heat culture still a threat. Bobby saying, I hate to say it, but I can totally see the Bulls lose to the G League Heat tomorrow.
That's not a G League team, bro.
It's not, especially not when it's coached by Spo.
Correct.
Let's take our first break there. We can come back on the other side, keep breaking this down, because I want more of your thoughts, Will and Dave, on which side of the ball Spo might sneakily find a way to coach this shorthanded team to a victory more on the offensive side or defensive side. So we saw him throw some extensive looks of zone defense at Philly last night, and it was messing with the Sixers. Also want to revisit some of the Bulls Heat regular season series games, because what can we glean from that, especially considering that they were played little like home game, and then road game in the span of November, December. It was a while ago, and these lineups were different. So we'll get to all that and more on the other side of this first break. While we are doing that, you know what to do, Bulls Nation. Hit that like button if you're hanging out with us on YouTube, because it's easy. It takes you half a second, and we appreciate it. So, Big Dave, what's first today?
Main man, Ray CDJR.
Oh, I love Ray.
Have a question for y'all out there. Are you in the market for a new vehicle? If you are, then we have some great news for you. Our partner, Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram in Fox Lake, is celebrating the Jeep Celebration event, and they're doing it all month long. And you know what that means? Do you know? You'll be able to rave about the savings on a wide selection of inventory, because for a limited time, and a limited time only, lease a new 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo Altitude, say that 5 times fast, for $439 a month for 39 months. That's a good deal. If the Grand Cherokee is not big enough for you, shout out to you. Check out the third row and lease the new 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited L for $479 a month for 39 months. At Ray CDJR, you'll be able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest inventories and drive home with more money in your hip pocket than you'd expect, thanks to that Ray Price promise. Don't miss out. Shop great deals all month long and save big, because Ray CDJR makes buying a new vehicle more affordable than ever. But that's not all. No. Just for listening, you can get a free oil change when you mention CHGO at the service center, or mention CHGO when you book online at RayCDJR/service. That's RayCDJR/service. But you have to schedule before April 30th. You do it before April 30th, free oil change. What's up, Rags? Free! So, if you're in the market...
free tastes better.
Thank you, Joey. So, if you're in the market for a new vehicle, then you have to check out the team at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram, because they are the only team that we recommend. Visit them today on Route 12 in Fox Lake. For more information, visit Ray CDJR in Fox Lake or raycdjr.com. Serving the community since 1963.
CHGO Bulls today also brought to you by Circa Sportsbook. More NBA action to bet on tomorrow night. We got East 8 seed at stake, and West 8 seed at stake. Kings Pels.
Kings Pels
should be a good one.
No Zion.
Real bummer.
Yeah.
No Zion, no Jimmy. These play-in tournament games, man. Freaking injuries. But either way, you can have some fun, put some bets down, and put some money in your pocket by betting on these NBA play-in tournament games and the real NBA playoffs once they start at Circa Sportsbook, who offer those tight money line splits and use their low hold model, always striving to have starting odds of -110 for game spreads, over-unders. Unlike a lot of other sports bettors these days who push those starting odds to -115 or -120 for no good reason at all. Circa also doesn't limit players based on their recent winnings. Everyone has the same limits, unlike other sports books who limit their hot streak players. Circa encourages bettors to, of course, download and try out their Circa Sports Illinois app, but try out any sports betting app that's available to you these days that you're curious about, because they are confident. More often than not, you'll find a better user experience, a better odds, and overall better time at Circa. They know for a fact that you will never find better customer service anywhere else in the sports betting community. Real people behind the Circa app who resolve issues in a timely fashion, unlike other sportsbooks who use the dreaded chatbots. All aspects of their app are run by the same team that run their main Circa Sportsbook at Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. Summer League. So close. We're getting there. Download that Circa Sports Illinois app today at circasports.com/Illinois-app to sign up today. Be on the lookout also for Circa's events, watch parties, and tailgates. If you or someone you know may have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. Text GAMB to 833-234 or visit areyoureallyWinning.com. .com. Okay, so getting back to Bulls Heat, I am curious. You mentioned the slow plotting offense, Will, that the Heat play. They were one of only 2 teams in the NBA this season that had a slower pace of play than the Bulls' half-court offense. What do you think, assuming Ayo can play, assuming Caruso can play, and no other wild card injuries pop up, and we have the same group of players that we saw Billy have at his disposal last night, what will be Billy's biggest focus as far as, okay, no Jimmy buckets. They do have Tyler Herro back, who put up some decent games down the stretch of the finals, the regular season when he came back from his injury. What's the main? Is it Tyler Herro? Is it Bam? Where does Billy focus with this slow plotting Heat offense? Or are you concerned that maybe without Jimmy, this Heat team turns a little bit more run and gun? And maybe Bam spraying out to shooters as opposed to just ISO Jimmy doing his version of DeMar DeRozan at half court.
You're talking about offensively for the Heat?
Right.
Yeah, I think that there's going to be a lot more motion and movement in the half court. Like, they're going to try to get out in transition. They're going to try to do the offensive rebounding thing. They're going to try to win the possession battle the way that the Bulls do. But I think that ultimately they're going to have to get up a lot of threes. They don't have the ability to get into the paint and get to the foul line as much as they normally would without Jimmy. And so I think that puts them in a position where they're going to run a lot of these dribble handoffs, shoot a lot of threes, try to generate as many paint touches as possible. But I think this is kind of where their limitation is that they don't really have a true number 2 scoring option. And like Herro has been that guy at times. They traded for Terry Rozier to try to be that guy at times, but he's obviously not going to be playing. And so I think it's kind of like I said before, like they're going to have to create a lot of system baskets through motion and movement and handoffs and back cuts. And I think they're capable of doing that. But it's also like which guy gets hot and steps up on that night. It's in a 1-game sample like we've been talking about. What happens if Jaime Jaquez hits a handful of threes and then gets going? Or, Duncan Robinson hits 8 or 9 threes in a game. Like anything is possible in that scenario. And so I think they're going to try to add as much variance as they can to try to make up for the fact that they don't really have their kind of go-to like metronome scorer.
I like the way you put that. And I think they've been set up that way for years, honestly. Like you said, they've been looking for a number 2, but the way they've been looking for it is trying to get the big free agent because it was supposed to be Dame Lillard, for him, obviously. But it's just they're so formidable with the talent that they have around him because, role players obviously know how to play a role.
I mean, Caleb Martin went nuts in the conference finals last year.
Right, exactly.
Who knows?
And not to say, obviously, they're not on this level, but it's kind of the same way of when Jordan was going and the triangle was run perfectly. You know what I mean? With Scottie Pippen and the
93-94 season.
Correct. The triangle was run brilliantly by them because they're the role players in a system team. And so it was just whoever was hot who was getting that bucket that night. Obviously, Scottie was the leader, but the ball was spread out a little bit more, obviously, because you don't have the greatest player of all time to pass it to.
Yeah.
And so it's a different thing, like you mentioned, Will, with Jimmy not out there. And him not being the guy that could just say, hey, here's your ball, as you mentioned, Matt, playing that DeRozan hero ball thing.
Right.
Who's going to be that guy? And as Will said, who's that guy to step up? Honestly, like I said, I mentioned Bam. The other guy that kills you all the time is Kevin Love. He's the other guy that really gives you problems because of the rebounding and the three-point shooting. He's going to get at least 4 or 5 attempts. Good looks at that three-point line. But you can't do nothing about that. But his rebounding is what is really going to be the issue.
Right.
Because the Bulls have struggled with that, And that's the reason why Drummond is so vital. It's going to be so important as far as, using his size inside, which is why those games are also so close. You know what I mean? Like, because whatever the one team does well, the other team can't. I'm not going to say they could stop it, but they have something for it. You know what I mean? Something that's formidable for it. So that's why they matched up so well, which is why I wanted to see this matchup, just because it matched up so well. The only true advantage I felt they had was on the coaching side, because I just think Spo is just on another level. But Billy really did coach a really good game against the Hawks. I gave him credit, all kinds of credit for that, man. And hopefully we can see that happen again.
So that's, I think, where I am more skeptical. As far like I think that Billy and this Bulls defense, depleted and tired and banged up as they are, can limit this Heat offense, sans Jimmy buckets, to basically like, hey, if they hit their shots, tough.
Yeah.
If the Heat don't catch fire, I think the Bulls can slow this Heat offense down. This Heat offense is not a real threat to me. Where I would have a bigger concern if I'm Billy and the Bulls is getting outcoached by this Heat defense, which, I mean, the Heat have always been a team that has been built around their defense.
True.
They were a top 5 defense again this season, I believe. 6th? 5th? Let's see. Yeah, 111.5 defensive rating, 5th in the NBA. And I'm glad that Bulls fans are riding this high of a 42-point night from Coby White, who looked brilliant. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And I think maybe Bulls fans are thinking, hey, this Heat team's banged up. Let's get another 30 or so point game from Coby. Let's get a 30-point game from DeMar. Let's get 20 from Vooch. Let's get 15 to 20 from Ayo, knocking down his threes, doing his thing in transition. Caruso hits a couple of threes. Javante has a couple of fast break dunks. We're home free. I do not think that will be the case, because Spo and this Heat defense and the scheme of it, even without Jimmy Butler available. And I think, Will, it was maybe a tweet of yours or in a side combo somewhere, you were talking about the possibility that we just see Spo throw a Bam Adebayo box and one at this Bulls half-court offense and say, deal with this.
Right.
Because we have seen at times throughout the past 3 seasons of a DeMar DeRozan-led Bulls half-court offense struggle with those kinds of defensive schemes.
Just going back to the shooting from last night, like DeRozan, 52.5% from the field. Caruso, 66.7% from the field. Vooch, 52. Ayo, 66.7. Coby, 71. Drummond, 50. Javante Green, 57. The only player to shoot worse than 50% on the entire Bulls roster last night was Dalen Terry, who was 2 for 8. So that and that's something that like this team cannot do consistently is make shots. So I'm a little worried about that from that perspective. They're not going to have the open looks, but it's also just like it's a make or miss league. Like if they're just not shooting the ball well, it's going to be
also,
difficult.
like you have to attribute some of those wildly huge inflated field goal percentages to the fact that the Hawks played 0 defense last night.
And that's where I was going next is like the Bulls, to their credit, always win the like battle of who is trying harder. They come out and they compete. Like I know it's a meme because the AK wants to just be competitive. They really do compete at a higher level than most teams on any given night. But this is the postseason now. And like I don't think you can just bank on you're going to be trying harder than your opponent. So that's kind of a wash, or it's out the window. Like you've got to out-execute teams. And that's where I think Spo can get really creative. And that's why I suggested the box and one thing. Like, I mean, we were talking about it with the Hawks. Like, to me, that Hawks game last night is not replicable because they were just giving away the paint. Like, if you were to put Bam on DeRozan and just say, deny him the ball, do not let him touch the ball, and, like, make Coby go try to get into the paint against a box and one or, you know, just one-on-one and, like, just make those guys create offense and beat you. Like, in a one-game scenario, could they do that? Yeah, but could they also not muster the points? Absolutely. So I think they are a team that's, like, willing to get creative. I think they're a team that likes to get creative and try weird stuff to throw teams off, but that's what their zone does. And you saw it last night against the 76ers. They just like didn't know what to do with it. They couldn't get into the paint, and they had like 36 points at halftime. So I think they are definitely going to have to try stuff. It reminds me of that Warriors-Raptors finals where there was just this depleted Warriors team, and they only had Steph. Clay was out, KD was out, and it was just like put Siakam on Steph and just have the rest of the guys go 4-on-4 and like see if they can win. And I in a one-game situation like this, I don't know why teams wouldn't be a little bit more gimmicky and try stuff to try to take away the variance, try to take away what you do best and leave it up to chance.
Yeah, and you mentioned that the boxing one and the zone defense they struggle with, and we all know the best way to take out the zone defense is shooting, and that's exactly why Philly was in that game because Batum went crazy,
right?
Hitting big.
They've got shooters.
Correct. They have shooters. The Bulls and what they did had a good night.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It was not something that we've seen be sustainable for them all season long. Absolutely, we want it to be in the next game and going forward and all the other stuff, but after what we've seen so far, we're like, well, you can't rely on that fact, as Matt mentioned, that we're just going to do this, end it all with a Javante dunk, and then it's going to be all smooth. No, they know what they do right and they know what they do wrong. That's what the Heat know about your team. So the Bulls have to figure out that way and, yes, somewhat rely on the shooting. If the shots are hitting, great. You know what I mean? Awesome. But we've seen that not be the case. So what is your plan B? What is your plan C? What is your plan D? Because against this Heat team, you're going to need multiple plans to beat them.
And I mean, of that Heat defensive just ferocity, let's journey back a little bit. Again, I don't think we can glean too much from the Bulls Heat regular season series because there was a mid-November 2 games and 3 nights in Chicago, and then there was a mid-December 2 games and 3 nights in Miami.
Sure.
And each little mini-series was a split, 1 win for each team. The first game between these two teams this season, back on November 18th, y'all remember how that started? Because it started with the Heat going up 22-1.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Remember that? Mm-hmm. When the Bulls managed 14 points through the first 12 minutes of the game. And because the Heat have their own offensive issues, the Bulls actually came back and won that game. Credit to them. Caruso hits a big 3. Wild game. But that is what the Heat defense is capable of.
Sure.
Putting you in a 22-1 hole.
Sure.
And if I'm not saying that I think that's what's going to happen tomorrow, but say the Bulls come out flat for whatever reason. They got to go fly to Miami and get ready for this game. The Heat get to stay at home and get ready at home. We've seen the Bulls come out flat. Maybe they have one of those games where they come out flat and they dig themselves a hole. And now with so many guys playing through injuries, with all of the minutes on Coby's legs and DeMar's legs and Vooch's legs, will they have the energy to sustain a comeback and see that comeback through if those are the, if those are the variables at hand? Because the Heat defense stifles them out of the game. Maybe as much as I joke about Heat fans and the fact that they're all fake as shit, they get the Heat fans riled up. Those are them that show up on time anyway. And then the Bulls are like all of a sudden, they take the Heat's first punch and then they have to try and climb back out of it.
You know what? Honestly, I think the Bulls can sustain that because it's what I've seen. When they, even after you mentioned 22-1, they still came back on them and won. But like you mentioned, it was earlier in the season. Now this being late time, lazy legs and things like that. But regardless, even if I go back to any year when the Bulls played the Heat, no matter what time it was, it's a close game. Like it's very rarely a blowout when they play each other, man. So I think I think the Bulls can have that way and can sustain a comeback against them. The question is, can they come all the way back?
Right.
To finish it. That's. It's not, for me, Matt, it's not that question of can they come back. It's the question of can they finish it. Because we have to see them finish. They weren't able to finish it last year. They couldn't do it. They didn't finish the story. Shout out Cody Rhodes. They couldn't finish it last year. So can they come all the way back? And can they, even if they keep a lead, can they maintain the lead? You know what I mean? They've shown they'll give up a lead like that as well, and then they'll go on like a 4-minute drought. We've seen that a lot this season with the Bulls. So those are the things that I'm more concerned with, more so than their effort and, and how they're going to play. Can they stay in the game and can they win and win the game? That's what I'm looking to see. Can they truly do? Because like you said, number 1 in clutch. We got all that, you know what I mean? But it still didn't mean your record was a better record.
And
you know what I mean?
They don't have their clutch guy that you pointed out earlier, Will, which, by the way, the last of the 4 regular season meetings between these two teams, Jimmy Buckets, buzzer beater game in a back-and-forth game.
Yeah, and Miami, you just had me thinking about the clutch too, so I just looked it up. 28th in the league in clutch net rating at minus 13.5, but they won 22 and lost 20 clutch games. So they overperformed because of the fact that they've got guys that can close and because of the fact that they go on these scoring droughts where their offensive rating in the clutch is 100, but they still defend and they can get themselves into these situations where they can out-execute teams. So, I don't think that the Heat are going to be going away regardless of Jimmy. Obviously, it's a huge blow to them, but they went to the finals last year. They feel like they can still get back to that level. And so, I don't think that this is like – it seems like a lot of people are already talking about the Bulls against the Celtics. And I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but I just think you got to get through your first step before
Yeah,
you
they did go to
finish
the
your
finals.
breakfast before you
That's
start
the
with
that's the
lunch
thing
or
that
whatever
happened.
the analogy is.
Credit to Grayson Allen and the Bucks for letting the Heat go to the finals last year.
Yeah.
All right, let's take our second break. We'll come back. Wanted to touch a bit more on some of these Heat numbers from the season. I think 3 of the 4 factors for Miami are particularly interesting when looking at a matchup with our beloved Bulls tomorrow night. Also wanted to touch on what exactly Herro has looked like since his return from injury. So we will do all that on the other side. Hit that like button if you didn't do it the first time, or Troll Joe will...
He'll get you.
Get you!
Silly, man.
You're scared of the claw. What's up next, Dave?
Charles, what time is it? You shouldn't have to worry when you buy tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets to all your sports, music, comedy, and theater events nearest you with killer last minute deals, all in prices, views on your seat, and the best price guarantee. Game Time takes that guesswork out of buying those tickets. Game Time has deals on tickets right to start the event and even an hour after it starts. It's not the place. No. It is the place to find last-minute seats, find exclusive flash deals, and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, hockey, comedy, concerts, theater, and so much more. And with zone deals, you pick the section, Game Time will do the selecting for an average savings of 18%.
What?
And with the Game Time guarantee, it means you will always, and I mean always, get the best price possible. So take the guesswork out of buying those tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHGO, get yourself $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
Terms apply.
Again, CHGO. Use that code. Download Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHGO, get $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Because we're going to leave. What time is it?
Game Time. Who?
I'm so cool.
CHGO Bulls also brought to you by our friends at Coors Light.
Cold.
If at any point in this Bulls Heat do or die game tomorrow night you find yourself stressing out a little bit, that's okay. Here's a piece of advice. Reach in your fridge or your cooler or your beer fridge, wherever it is, grab yourself an icy cold Coors Light. Maybe you don't have a fully stocked Coors Light inventory in your house right now.
Maybe.
No worries, because you can get some. You can get some delivered to your door.
Yes.
All you got to do is do a little Instacart shopping. Just a little Instacart shopping.
Clickety, clackety, clack, clack.
Yeah, because that's all you need to chill. Mm-hmm. That's why Coors Light helps you find the moments to chill all year long. Maybe you have yourself a little victory celebration Coors Light tomorrow.
Looking forward
the Bulls
to it.
come out on top of this one.
Forward to it.
Whatever happens, I'm gonna have a couple Coors Lights while we watch this game tomorrow because it'll help me chill.
Yes.
Keep my blood pressure low.
Yes.
Shout out to the 6 p.m. tip.
Shout out to the 6 p.m.
I love the 6 p.m. tip. On the heels of an 8:30 tip, there was
Yeah,
actually an
yeah.
8:45 tip.
Correct. Shout out 6 p.m.
ESPN, they can't keep getting away with this. I swear to God. When the mountains turn blue, it's as cold as the Rockies. That's how you know it's time to drink that Coors Light, which is cold lager, cold filtered, and cold packaged for a smoother finish. When it's time to chill, crack that Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment, crisp and refreshing as the Colorado Rockies. When it's time to chill, Coors Light, the beer I reach for, it's the beer we reach for. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/CHGO basketball. That's CoorsLight.com/CHGO basketball to get that Coors Light delivered to you via Instacart. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Golden. Yeah.
Speaking of Colorado, shout out to our friends at DMVR who got Coach Prime,
Coach Prime
on their
bro.
Buff show the other day.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. That's really cool to have, bro.
I mean, like,
just a matter of time.
where would you put Prime in the echelon of best gets for people who do sports media interview wise?
Oh man, I mean,
got, top 50,
top 1 tier.
I was
you know
gonna say
what I mean?
top 50 for sure. It's Prime
in any year.
Yeah.
Like pick whatever year you want.
at any decade and generation of his
Yeah,
life as
seriously.
an athlete, a commentator,
Since
coach.
college, right? Since college, he's top tier as far as get it for an interview. And now, just being what Sportsman of the Year, like on the cover of Sports Illustrated, all the great things he's doing out there in Colorado, what he's really transforming that school into. I've been dying for them to have that moment.
Yeah.
And they had that moment, man. Shout out to my man. RK and the crew.
Much love to them, who are also gearing up for a little Nuggets playoff run.
Ooh.
Go back to Denver if they make it back to the finals?
We'll see.
I'm
We'll
down.
see. We'll see.
All right, guys, back to Bulls Heat. I mentioned the Heat had the fifth best defensive rating in the NBA this season. The Bulls had that last year.
Yes.
Not so much this year. Heat, no surprise, 21st offensive rating and just a middle-of-the-pack net rating of plus 1.8. Then you look at their four factors. 53.8 effective field goal percentage. Again, no surprises there for this Heat team. Not super strong shooting-wise. Here are the three that I think could be big factors for Bulls Heat, though.
Okay.
They are top 10 in getting to the line, as you see that 2.57 free throw attempt rate. The Bulls, for all of the ways in which they played well last night, they let the Hawks get the better of them at the free throw line. I think they basically doubled up the Bulls in makes from the free throw line. And Billy has harped on that all season long as one of the biggest critiques. Sometimes I think we foul when we don't need to foul. We put our opponents at the line when we don't need to put them at the line. So that could be a key. They did squeeze into the top 10 at limiting turnovers. We saw the Bulls, execute a near flawless limiting turnovers game last night.
Amazing.
Again against a joke of a Hawks defense that wasn't even
Amazing,
there.
though.
Screen door on a submarine. And the Heat are not a good offensive rebounding team, just 24th in the NBA in offensive rebounding percentage this season. So areas where the Bulls had the edge against Atlanta last night, the boards and limiting turnovers and points off turnovers could be two areas where they could find at least a margin of an advantage against the Heat, Will.
Yeah, and that's, again, the possession battle has just been such a big thing for this team all season because they're trying to offset the giant disparity in points from the three-point line.
Yeah.
They're losing on average games by 9 points from beyond the arc every day. So you're basically starting in a 9-0 deficit. And that's worse than last year when it was 8-0. So this team has to dominate the offensive glass. They have to dominate the free throw line. And they have to take care of the ball. They have to give themselves as many opportunities to get high efficiency shots. And that means not turning it over, giving yourself more opportunities by offensive rebounding. Obviously, that becomes a little bit more difficult with Andre Drummond not playing at his highest level. But that's what it's going to take. And I think especially true when I predict that this Heat team will have to take a lot more threes because they're going to be missing their top free throw getter. Jimmy Butler's averaging 7.7 attempts per game. Next up is Bam at 5.5, Herro at 2.7, and everybody else is right around 2. So they are not really going to be able to generate a lot of free throws outside of maybe Bam tomorrow. And, we'll see. He did not play well last night against the 76ers. We'll see if he can regain some form a little bit here. But the Bulls still need to be really, I think, obviously they're going to be focused on doing what they need to do. They understand the situation, and they're not, coming in arrogant or anything like that.
Yeah.
But, they cannot get lazy with executing the things that they need to execute to. Because that's, I think, where they've gotten in trouble against teams like the Wizards and the Pistons this year, where they're giving up offensive rebounds, where they're giving up a ton of threes, and now all of a sudden you can't get yourself back into the game because you're not doing enough to offset that disparity.
Yeah, and this is honestly another one of the reasons why I like the Bulls going into the postseason because they having to know when to turn that on. You know what I'm saying? And when to focus and when to have that right is important. The Heat do it all the time. We watch them do it every single year, knowing no matter how their regular season went, they know when it's that time and they cut it on. Again, you know that because you go all the time. So this is, again, one of the reasons why I wanted the Bulls to go. The other thing, Matt, the free throws that you mentioned, the officiating was horrid on that because Mark Davis. As soon as it was going on, I was pointing to you. I was like, "I bet you Mark Davis," and it was Mark Davis. It's either Mark Davis or it's Tony Roberts, one or the other. And when I heard Mark, matter of fact, how about the transition foul that was called? And I was like, that looked like a transition foul.
The take
and
foul?
And they said, hey, let's go to Steve Levy and check with him. Yeah, it didn't look like a transition.
That's not a take foul.
He was like, that's not what that is. So yeah, a lot of them fouls, I was like, what the hell is going on? What are y'all calling, man? But yeah, we'll see what it is. I hope none of those guys are refereeing this game. I don't look forward to that if that's the case. But I do agree with you when you're talking about how they need to come out because last year when they played, they came out flat. They definitely came out flat against them.
Spruce was killing them.
Yeah, going to work. You know what I mean? And Kevin Love. He was having a good game against them as well. But, yeah, you can't come out that flat. You know who you're going against at this point in time, guys. You know this Miami Heat team. You know what they can do. You can beat this team. You can. You've shown that you can beat this team and be on that level with them. It's about finishing it, going all the way with it, man. So No more half measures on it, man. I think the Bulls can win this game. I really do. They can win this game, but the Heat are the Heat, and I don't want anybody to downplay the Heat.
It's a favorable matchup for the Bulls compared to a lot of teams in this league right now.
Yeah,
I'm surprised that the Bulls are underdogs right now.
Yeah,
I'm not.
Well, because when you look at I mentioned 2 of the 4 games, the first one and the fourth one, the Bulls got down big and then made that crazy comeback to win game 1. Game 4 was a back and forth game all night.
Yeah.
Jimmy wins it with a buzzer beater.
Yes.
Game 3 between Bulls Heat, the Bulls had their largest first quarter lead not only of the season, but their largest first quarter lead as a franchise since 1997 when they were up 25 on the Heat after a quarter. And then Heat made a bit of a comeback. Bulls held them off. Bulls win. The one game that had a pretty sizable point spread was the Heat's winning game 2. And as you were pointing out earlier, Will, and I went back and looked at that one, Bulls and Heat played evenly, or Bulls had the edge in pretty much every category, but Heat outscored the Bulls by 18 behind the 3-point line.
And it's so difficult to take much from these previous matchups because, 1, they happened way earlier on in the season, but 2, Zach LaVine played in the first 2 games.
Patrick Williams had a 25-point game, one of those.
All 4 of those games. Bam Adebayo only played in 2 of them.
Right.
Tyler Herro missed all 4. Jimmy Butler had a game winner in 1. They hadn't yet traded for Terry Rozier, who obviously is not going to be playing. So
Kyle Lowry was a Heat. Now he's a Sixer.
Yep.
So there's so much that it's hard to take away from these games. But at the same time, like the Heat, and Io said this last night, Coby said this last night, like we know who the Heat are.
Yeah.
They play to a style. They're physical. They execute like they're going to be that same team. It's just going to be a different version.
Yeah. See, I love that. I love hearing that. And I'm glad you know the monster that you're dealing with, bro. So let's slay it.
You mentioned Tyler Herro. So he had 2 pretty extensive absences in this 23-24 season, including one that had him out up until just the final 6 games of the Heat's regular season. He was out with right foot tendonitis, and as we mentioned at the top of the show when going down the injury list for each team, he's still on the injury report with that foot tendonitis. But so wanted to touch on what he did in those 6 games back from injury, and then also what he did in their loss to the Sixers last night. So in his 6 games back, Tyler Herro was averaging 21 points on some pretty respectable shooting splits of 47, 37, and 90, while grabbing 5 boards and dishing out 5 assists per game.
Okay.
As a second/third star on a team, pretty solid numbers.
Very solid,
coming back from an injury like that. I don't think Coby was doing that in his 6 games back from the hip injury.
No.
Then you look at last night's performance specifically: 25 points, but 9 of 27. And 4 of 14 from the 3-point line. He did dish 9 assists, but 5 turnovers.
He's known for that.
And I think all of that is, telling for what the Bulls might get from Tyler Herro tonight. I saw people in the comments joking earlier, like, "Hey, no former Bull Max Strus here to like crush the Bulls and their fans' spirits with a lights out performance from 3."
Yeah, that's
and
true.
you say, like, "Okay, well, they don't have Max Strus. They do have Tyler Herro, who can catch fire like anyone else in the NBA." But he's coming off of an awful shooting night.
Yeah.
But the fact that he went 4 of 14 doesn't matter how many shots Tyler Herro has missed, even coming off of an injury, recently coming back. He is never afraid to shoot.
Yeah.
He took 27 shots, 14 threes.
He's gonna shoot. He hit the last shot of the game yesterday for them.
Yeah.
He hit the final 3-pointer. You know what I mean? That cut that lead right back down to 3s. But he's a problem. He's an issue. You have to know that. Usually when he plays against the Bulls, he doesn't have a big game. But again, this is a different circumstance and a different situation. And that's a great point mentioning Max Strus, because he always was ready to, kill the Bulls and take it to him. But Tyler Herro is still who he is. I still remember when Tyler Herro was being mentioned, when they were mentioning him with Luka Doncic and Trae Young at that time. They were like, he needs to be in that same conversation.
After the bubble.
We knew that was absolutely insane. But still.
Another player that people started throwing his name next to in comparisons for a while, Zach LaVine.
Yeah, oh, yes.
We were talking Tyler Herro versus Zach LaVine.
Zach LaVine, yeah, and trade talk. Yeah, hypothetical trade talks. Yeah, that was always would come up. So he can play. He's serious, man. And they know what's on the line, man. And him being able to play at home, knowing what's on the line, and knowing that it's on him a little bit. You know what I mean? It's not Jimmy's not going to be out there he's going to have those opportunities to take those 28 shots again, and they won't blink an eye at it. So just be careful. You know what I mean? This is Tyler Herro, so he struggled, but he's still a problem. He is still an absolute issue.
And I think Duncan Robinson too. I mean, if he's able to play, that's another guy that like
He kills
the Bulls just really struggle chasing, lock and trail,
Agreed.
getting back into position and guarding one-on-one and taking away those threes. So he's a guy who I think is in for potentially a really big game just because of the way that he can get open and find his own shot. And like you said, understanding that Jimmy's not there to take the pressure off of them, now there's pressure on these guys to get their shot and to not hesitate, not think about it, but you got to get shots up.
Got to.
And that's the thing that maybe the Bulls and their perimeter defense can capitalize on when you see that, like, Tyler Herro had 9 dimes but also 5 turnovers last night.
Yeah.
You kind of, would deduce that came from a hobbled Jimmy being out there or Jimmy not being out there.
Absolutely.
So, Spo puts more ball handling responsibility in Tyler Herro's hands. And then if that's the case again tomorrow night, knowing you're not going to have Jimmy buckets to get his ISO possessions where he just draws a mismatch, backs him down, and either gets to the line or hits a Jimmy bucket shot, in the lane or in the mid-range. If Tyler Herro has to be the guy initiating the Heat's offense, can the Bulls and Ayo and Caruso and whoever it might be generate some of those easy point opportunities in transition and in fast break because they get Herro, who's not used to that many ball handling responsibilities, to cough up the ball, Will.
Yeah, and I think it goes the other way too, right? Like, DeMar is going to have a lot of opportunities here to try to pick on matchups a little bit. And the Heat are going to go to their zone, but like if you can get Duncan Robinson or Herro switched onto you, he, I think, can do a lot of damage and force the Heat into situations where they have to send 2 and now they're scrambling. And you've got guys like Herro and Robinson who are, they're good in rotations, but they're not going to be like really making guys work to get open.
Correct.
And so I think they have an opportunity to really capitalize on this too. The fact that the Heat don't have like a true stopper one-on-one, I think really plays into the Bulls' hands here.
And also you mentioned Jimmy Butler, as far as the guy distributing the ball, that's another great point. And why Tyler Herro felt they had to take that on.
Right.
Like not having, that was one of Jimmy's MOs, is getting everybody involved, and then he would take over in the fourth quarter. Also, Jimmy had 5 steals that last game. Like, so you lose that as well. There's a lot they lose, man. And guarding certain guys, you knew Jimmy Butler was going to be guarding DeMar DeRozan.
Right.
You knew it. He was going to be on DeMar, taking him, going after him. So removing that, like, who's on DeMar? Like you might cheat with Bam sometimes, and put him on there. Don't put Tyler Herro on him. Or actually do put Tyler Herro on DeMar DeRozan. I wouldn't mind that at all. Like, who's going to go against him? Like, I think this kind of helps the Bulls because now they're a little more lighter defensively in the backcourt. You know what I mean? And we saw what Coby did, and we know what Ayo does. You know what I mean? He will put that pressure on you, and we know what DeMar does. So that's an advantage for the Bulls. And Caruso, his three-point shooting has been better as of late in these past few games, man. So those things kind of play into the Bulls' hands just a little bit, not having just one guy out there. That's how important Jimmy Butler is to that team. Just not having that one guy out there kind of opens up a little more thing for the Chicago Bulls.
And I will say, as much as we at times have given defensive flowers to Ayo, even Coby, although I think Kobe's defense kind of took a bit of a backslide at the back half of the season, but like still both respectable on-ball defenders. The other concern from the Bulls' defensive perspective would be whether it's Duncan Robinson, Tyler Herro, or whoever else. I mean, like Coby and Ayo have struggled with their off-ball defense in particular this season.
Yeah.
And if the Bulls get a little bit lackadaisical and lose track of those shooters, whether it's pin screens, corner screens, drag screens, that is another place where the Bulls defense might be susceptible.
Yeah. And that's why I feel like system baskets are going to be so big for the Heat tomorrow, is that they don't have, without Jimmy, very many guys. I don't want to take too much away from Herro here because I think there's a chance the Bulls put 2 to him, but I just don't think that they have a way to put the Bulls into rotation without attacking the paint, without isolating on missing. Like so many times this past season, the Heat would just go to Jimmy in the post and say and get Coby on him and just shoot over him. Yeah. Or now the Bulls are
go to the foul
drawing
line.
2. So I think it's going to be a situation where like if the Heat aren't able to draw 2 to the ball and get the Bulls in rotation, they're going to have a really hard time scoring. But if they're able to do that through movement and dribble handoffs and back cuts and things like that, I think that's where they have some openings. And so I think for the Bulls, offensively, they're going to need to capitalize on those situations, but I think they're going to have to stay out of those situations on the defensive end just as much.
Chris Davis in the comments saying they need to stay in close distance against all those shooters because I don't want this to be a three-point battle to stay in the game. Fish saying we had these guys last year with Jimmy. Coby was catching fire before Billy sat him. Remember that?
Oh, he did.
Coby ain't sitting. The Heat don't have enough for us. They need a lucky shooting guard night. Bull Zone saying, I'm a little late, but we're calling Miami without Jimmy Buckets. Barbecue chicken. Julia saying, Billy, your coaching credential is on the line tomorrow.
I do want to see him have a good game. I do want to see Bill. I thought he had a really good game as far as his rotations were concerned. You know, as far as the offense that they ran, again, we know the defense they were playing wasn't great, but I love what they were running, man, inside. I love what he was doing with Vooch, allowing Vooch to attack every single time. Every time he get the ball top of the key, he let him attack and would go down that lane and eat up that space and let him go to work. So I like the game that he called, man. And then when Coby started cooking, there's really nothing else to do after that. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed what Billy did. I did.
I really feel like everything went right for the Bulls last night.
Sure.
Obviously, Caruso gets hurt and Drummond's not 1,000%, but just in terms of how the game played out and the way that the Bulls were able to get into the things that they wanted to do, it was everything that they have been trying to accomplish from this whole season, going back to Nashville, but also last year too.
Yeah.
And that was their best game in the last two years. And so, like, but we also know that they have really struggled with consistency. Can they do that again? Because, again, it's going to be difficult to beat this Miami team even without Jimmy Butler.
Very.
They're going to have to make shots, but they're also going to have to execute and put pressure on this Heat team. And so can they do that 2 straight games? We will see.
You'll see, baby.
We shall see.
Go Bulls.
Real quick before we get out of here. Okay, assuming that Io, Caruso, and Drummond all get the green light tomorrow.
Okay.
Who wins?
Going Bulls. I mean, why not? It's final game.
Yeah, I'm going with the Bulls too.
Yeah.
Joey? Bulls or Heat?
Go Bulls. Go. See red.
Yes.
Yeah.
Leave a word of you.
I don't want to pick. It's gonna be an absolute. It's like the marble race.
Yeah.
The marble race. Nice.
It's the marble race coming down to the end.
Lord Zobey predicting a Bulls win. D'Angelo predicting a Bulls win. Sure, I'll say Bulls win because either I'll be right or I'll be happy. So there that is. 6 p.m. Central Time tip-off tomorrow for the Bulls win and in play-in tournament game. That means we will be here live from our CHGO studios for pregame at 5:30 Central. In the meantime, if you want a little evening reading and you haven't gotten to it yet, go check out the GOAT's Bulls Heat play-in preview that dropped earlier today. AllCHGO.com is where you can find that. Follow him, Will_Gottlieb. Follow our pal and producer, Joey, at Joey Spathis. He is Joey 1.2K. Big Dave Bow, BWL Sports. I'm Bulls_Pack. We are CHGO_Bulls. Hit the like on your way out if you didn't do it yet. We appreciate it. It helps us out a lot. Make sure you also subscribe to that CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your Thursday. See you, Red. Be good.
Bye, Julia.
We all silly like the man.